Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 28b, top of the page. Actually, the very bottom started with Rav Ikla Lemizban. Rav arrived at a certain place to buy. Now we're in the top of Kaf Ches Amud Aleph with the words Gevili ba'u minei. Gevili ba'u minei mahu shi'a'id adam be'eshes chargo. Rav arrived at a certain place to buy scrolls of parchment. They asked of him there, what is the halacha as whether a man can testify with regard to the wife of his stepson? Mahu shi'a'id adam be'eshes chargo. Bisura amri ba'al keishto. In Surah they say that Rav gave the following answer: a husband is considered like his wife. Since he is married to the son's mother, the son's wife is considered like his daughter-in-law. Bipumpedisa amri isha kibala. In Pumpedita they say a different version of Rav's answer. A wife is considered like her husband. Therefore, the wife of his stepson is considered like his stepson, and he cannot testify about her. The Amr of Huna, Amr of Nachman, Benayin Sha'isha Kibala, D'chsiv Ervas Achi Avicha, Lo Tigale El Ishto, Lo Tikrav Dadcha Hi, Ve'alo Eshes Dodo Hi, Miklal D'isha Kibala. In Pumpedita, they say a different version of Rav's answer. A wife is considered like her husband. Therefore, the wife of his stepson is considered like his stepson, and he cannot testify about her. As Rav Huna says, that Rav Nachman says, from where is it derived that a wife is considered like her husband? As it is written, you shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. You shall not approach his wife. She is your aunt. Leviticus 18:14. Isn't she the wife of his uncle and not his aunt, meaning his father's sister? It can therefore be concluded by inference that a wife is considered like her husband. Ubal imo hu uvano vechatano beno hainu achiv. The Mishnah teaches that among the relatives disqualified from testifying are his mother's husband, he meaning the mother's husband himself, and his son, and his son-in-law. The Gemara challenges that the son of the mother's husband is the same as his brother. In other words, his half-brother. And the Mishnah already stated that his brother is disqualified. Rabbi Yirmiyah lo nitzracha ela lachi ha'ach. Rabbi Yirmiyah said mentioning this case is necessary only for the half-brother of the half-brother. In other words, the son of his stepfather from another woman. Although they are not biologically related, they are considered relatives. Rav Chizda achshar b'achi ha'ach Amruleh lo shemiya lach had Rav Yirmiyah Amar lahu lo shemiya li kilomar lo svirli. Rav Chizda deemed the testimony of the half-brother fit. The other sages said to him, did you not hear this statement of Rabbi Yirmiyah, that the half-brother of the half-brother is disqualified? Rabbi Chizda said to them, I did not hear this, as if to say, I do not hold in accordance with this opinion. Ihachi hainu achiv. Tana achiv min ha'av. Ketani achiv min ha'em. The Gemara asks, if so, the question asked above recurs. The son of his mother's husband is the same as his brother. The Gemara answers, the Mishnah taught the case of a paternal half-brother, and it also teaches the case of a maternal half-brother. Amar Rav Chizda, Avi Chatan v'Avi Kala, mi'idin ze al ze, v'lo damu lehadadi, ela ki achla ledana. Rav Chizda says, the father of the groom and the father of the bride can testify about each other, and this is because they are considered to each other only like a lid on a barrel, which is not part of the barrel, but merely rests on top of it. Amar Rabba bar bar Chana, Meid Adam leishto arusa. Amar Ravina, Lo Amran ela lapukimina. Aval le'aluye la lo meheman. Rabba bar bar Chana says a man can testify about his betrothed wife. They are considered related only after marriage. Ravina says, we said this halacha only for testimony that removes money from her possession. But for testimony that awards her money, his testimony is not deemed credible, as he will ultimately marry her and benefit from the money. Velohi lo shna la poki velo shna la yole lo meheman. The Gemara rejects this opinion, but that is not so. There is no difference whether the testimony removes money from her possession, and there is no difference whether it awards her money. In both cases, his testimony is not deemed credible. Mai datach kedamar Rav Chia bar Ami b'shmei de'ula ishto arusa lo onen v'lo mitame la v'chein hi lo onenet v'lo mitama lo meita eno yorsha meita hu gova ketubata. The Gemara explains, what is your thinking that you deem a man fit to bear witness concerning his betrothed wife? It is as Rabbi Chia bar Ami said, in the name of Ula, one does not enter acute mourning on the day of the death of his betrothed wife, nor may he become ritually impure to bury her if he is a priest. Similarly, she does not enter acute mourning for him and is not obligated to become ritually impure to bury him. If she dies, he does not inherit her property. If he dies, she collects payment of her marriage contract. If he wrote it at the time of the betrothal, as it is treated like any other monetary document. Evidently, a betrothed woman is not considered related to her husband. Hasam b'shero tila rahmana. Hakati lav sherohi hacha mishum akrove data hu veha akrava data legabe. The Gemara comments the halacha. That halacha does not serve as proof for the halacha of testimony. As there, with regard to ritual impurity and the like, the merciful one renders it dependent on the question of whether the woman is his kin. Leviticus 21:2. And a betrothed woman is not yet his kin, as they are not yet married. But here, with regard to testimony, it is due to a sense of affinity that he is disqualified, and one feels a sense of affinity toward his betrothed. Chargo. Chargo levado tanu Rabbanan. Chargo levado Rav Yossi Omer Giso. Tanya idach Giso levado Rav Yehuda Omer Chargo. The Mishnah teaches that his stepson alone is disqualified from bearing witness about him, but not his stepson's sons or sons-in-law. The sages taught in a Braita his stepson alone is disqualified. Rabbi Yossi says his brother-in-law, and it is taught in another Braita his brother-in-law alone is disqualified. Rabbi Yehuda says his stepson. Maika Amar Ilema Haki Kamar Chargo Levado Vihu Hadin Legiso Vyasa Rabbi Yossi Lememar Giso Levado Vihu Hadin Lechargo Ela Masnis Indikdani Giso Hu Uvno Vechatano Mani Lo Rabbi Yehuda Velo Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara asks, what is the Braita saying? If we say this is what it is saying, his stepson alone is disqualified, and the same is true with regard to his brother-in-law, meaning a brother-in-law alone is disqualified, but not a brother-in-law's son or son-in-law, and Rabbi Yossi comes to say that his brother-in-law alone is disqualified, and the same is true with regard to his stepson, that interpretation is difficult. If so, whose opinion is expressed in the Mishnah, which teaches that his brother-in-law is disqualified, and this disqualification applies to he himself and his son and his son-in-law. It is neither the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda nor the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, as they both agree that the son and son-in-law of one's brother-in-law are not disqualified. Ve'ela haki kamar Chorgo levado aval giso hu v'no v'chatano Teatar Yossi Lememar Giso Levado Aval Chorgo Hu Uvno V'chatano. Rather, this is what the Braita is saying. His stepson alone is disqualified, but as for his brother-in-law, he himself and his son and his son-in-law are disqualified. And Rabbi Yossi comes to disagree and say that his brother-in-law alone is disqualified, but as for his stepson, he himself and his son-in-law are disqualified. Accordingly, the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Ve'ela hadetani Rabbi Chia shmone avos shehein esrim ve'arba kiman lo Rabbi Yossi velo Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara asks, but then, in accordance with whose opinion is the Braita that Rabbi Chia teaches that 8 fathers, which are the 8 principal relatives mentioned in the Mishnah, are disqualified, which are 24, including the son and the son-in-law of each, is neither in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, nor in the accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Ela haki kamar Chargo levado aval giso hu uveno v'chatano v'ata Rabbi Yossi lememar giso levado v'chol shchen Chargo umatnitin Rabbi Yehuda Braita Rabbi Yossi. Rather, the above interpretation should be rejected. And this is what the Braita is saying. His stepson alone is disqualified, but as for his brother-in-law, he himself, his son-in-law are disqualified. And Rabbi Yossi comes to say that his brother-in-law alone is disqualified, excluding his son and son-in-law, and all the more so his stepson. And accordingly, the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and the Braita that Rabbi Chia taught is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, halacha ke Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda says that Shmuel says the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Hahi matanta dehavu chatime ale tre gise savar Rabbi Yosef le'achshere de Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel halacha ke Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara relates there was a certain deed of gift on which two brothers-in-law were signed. Rabbi Yosef thought to deem it valid. As Rabbi Yehuda said, that Shmuel says the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yosef assumed that Shmuel was referring to Rabbi Yossi's opinion, as cited in the Mishnah, that only relatives who are fit to inherit are disqualified, and one does not inherit from his brother-in-law. Amar le Abaye, b'mai de Rabbi Yossi masis nemakshir b'giso, dilma de Rabbi Yossi b'daisa de pasul b'giso. Abaye said to him, from where do you conclude that Shmuel is referring to Rabbi Yossi, as cited in the Mishnah, who deems one's brother-in-law fit to bear witness with or about him? Perhaps he's referring to Rabbi Yossi as cited in the Braita, who deems one's brother-in-law, though not the latter's son and son-in-law, disqualified. Lo so kedaitach. Damar Shmuel, kigonana Pinchas, tehavin anache v'gisai, aval gisai the alma shapir dami. Rav Yosef answered, do not let it enter your mind that Shmuel was referring to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi as cited in the Braita. As Shmuel said, for example, my brother Pinchas and I are disqualified from bearing witness about one another. Apparently, he meant to say, we are disqualified because we are both brothers and brothers-in-law, as we married two sisters. But, by inference, other brothers-in-law may well testify about each other. V'dilma kegon ana uPinchas mishum giso ka'amar. Abaye raised an objection, but perhaps Shmuel said, perhaps Pinchas and I are disqualified only because Pinchas was his brother-in-law. He did not mean to say that they were disqualified only because they were brothers. Amar le zil kanye ba'adei mesira kerabi Elazar. Due to Abaye's objection, Rav Yosef said to the one holding the deed of gift, since the witness signed on the document, are disqualified from bearing witness together, go and acquire the gift by means of the witnesses who observed the transmission of the deed to you in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Lazar, who maintains that the witnesses who effect the transaction are not those who signed the deed, but rather those who observed its transmission. A legal document is signed by witnesses merely to enhance its authority, not to affect the transaction. Ve'amar Rabbi Abba Mode Rabbi Elazar b'mizuyaf mitocho shuhu pasul amar le zil lo shavki li dios vinei lach. Abaye raised an objection, but doesn't Rabbi Abba say that Rabbi Elazar concedes with regard to a document whose falsification is inherent in it, that the deed is not valid despite the fact that it's properly transferred? In other words, although the signatures on a legal document are unnecessary insofar as affecting the transaction is concerned, a document that includes invalid signatures is not valid, and this is in order to prevent others from relying upon these witnesses. Rav Yosef said to the one holding the deed of gift, go away. The rabbis do not let me give you the gift. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Amar Rabbi Tanchum, Amar Rabbi Tavla, Amar Rabbi Berona, Amar Rav, Halacha Rabbi Yehuda, Rava Amar Rav Nachman, Ein Halacha Rabbi Yehuda, V'chein Amar Rabbi Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ein Halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Yehuda says that if the witness has married the daughter of one of the litigants, he's disqualified even if the daughter died, provided that he has children from her. Rabbi Tanchum says that Rabbi Tavla says that Rabbi Baruna says that Rav says the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rava says that Rav Nachman says the halacha is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. And likewise, Rabbi Bar Chana says that Rabbi Yochanan says the halacha is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Ika lemasni laha de Rabbi Bar Chana aha. Et zo darash Rabbi Yossi Aglili ubatel kohanim al-leviyim be'al shofet asher ha'iyeh bayamim mahem v'chi ta'ale al da'atcha she'adam holech etzel shofet shelo haya b'yamav ela zeh shehaya karov v'nisrachek. There are those who teach this ruling of Rabbi Bar Chana with regard to this Braita. Rabbi Yossi Aglili interpreted the verse, and you shall come to the priests and Levites and to the judge who will be in those days, Deuteronomy 17:9. Rabbi Yossi Aglili asked, what is the meaning of the phrase, who will be in those days? But will it enter your mind that a person will go to a judge that is not in those days? Rather, it's referring to one who was a relative of one of the litigants due to marriage and then became not related. The litigant can therefore come before him only in those days that they are not related, and not while they are still related. Amar Rabbi Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Halachik Rabbi Yossi Aglili. As regard to this Braita that Rabbi Bar Chana says, Rabbi Yochanan says the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Aglili. The ruling is in the same as with Rabbi Yochanan aforementioned statement, meaning a relative who became unrelated is fit to bear witness or serve as a judge, but it was stated in a different context. B'nei Chamua de Mar Ukva. The Gemara relates the sons of the father-in-law of Mar Ukva,